Venus here from Heart's Desire by Venus, and today I want to talk about labels. Now, we've all got a bunch of these laying around. They're naked ones, sometimes they're printed like this one, but they're basically labels. And I don't know about you, but I have a hard time using them in any other way except for that you put like a word on here and put it on the top of your page. I'm getting kind of bored of that. So I decided I have some of these, I want to use them, but I don't like it just plain. So this is what I came up with. Little button clusters that I put on my labels. So now I can add them to the top of my page, the side of my page, or whatever. But they are a little decorated. I can still put some words in here, but I'm also using up my scraps because I made these buttons to match my my little labels. And I'm going to show you how I did it. It's a really quick and easy project. It will use up scraps you've got, but I think it just jazzes these labels up from this plain old boring to something with a little bit more flair. So what I did, I'm just going to move these kind of out of the way. I'll stick them over here. So what I did, the first thing I did is I got one of my labels cut out and I inked it. And then I looked for some paper that would go with it. I happen to have some collage papers that I'm using, so that's not a big deal. But I needed the base for my buttons. So what I did, I was in my recycle bin again. I have a Kleenex box. So it's a little thinner chipboard. So it's easy to work with. And basically, as you can see here, I punched out, because I made, for these ones, I made some big ones and little ones. So I punched out a bunch of circles. And I did some that are like 2 thick, 1 thick, 3 thick, 3 die cut thicks. And I found that the 3 ones had a little more substantial button. So that's what I did. I cut out, for each button, I've got 3, as you can see here. Now, I'm not saying this is a new idea that I have created this. No, I'm sure this stuff is, I've seen button things in the past. I'm just showing you how I made them and how I used them. So the first thing is first, I'm going to glue my button layers together. So I got my crafty glue here. And I'm going to leave the naked side to the back. And I'm basically going to glue all the way around my button here. And sandwich, you know, the decorated cardboard side to each other, because I don't want to see that. Just make a little sandwich. And then I'm going to glue the third one on the top as well. Just like that. A little bit of glue on the sides. I just wiped it around. I think it kind of helps seal it. And then what I did is I took my paper that I cut out a die cut shape out of as well. And I'm just going to glue that on. And this is great for using up little scraps. I mean, I've seen kinds of things like this before, but I've never actually done it. I have to admit, it's kind of addictive. So I've got it all labeled on, or glued on there. Put my cap on my glue before I make a mess. And I mean, you can let them dry for a little bit, but this stuff kind of sets up fast, so I'm not too worried about it. But I am going to distress them, and I'm just using the Distress Oxide Vintage Photo here, my normal go-to. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to distress the edges here. And because I left the cardboard kind of brown on the back, I'm not going to worry about it. But I also went and just distressed the edges here. Ooh, you can see it's still kind of moving around because it's still kind of wet. Distress the cardboard edges all the way around. All right. A little gooey still, but that's okay. All right, so then that is that. So then, getting out my little pokey mat here. And basically what I did was, where's my button? Is that I had a button was about the same size. And there it is. And I just used it for my placement of my holes. Now for the 4 one, I used a little 4 hole button. But for this one, I'm doing a 2 hole button. And basically, I'm just marking where I want those holes to be. And you can make these buttons whatever size you want. But for me, this is the size I wanted for this particular project. And you can take whatever punch you've got that will work. I'm just using, this is a 1/8 hole punch, old thing. I don't even know where I got it from anymore. And I'm punching the 2 holes out. You could just use your pokey tool. And that's what I did for these little ones. I just used my pokey tool and made 4 holes. But this one, I kind of wanted it a little bigger. So it's perfect. And then I'm just going to distress a little bit around the holes again. Add the color to it. Okay, so now I've got my label. And I'm going to build a little cluster to go on top of it. So I've got some of this vintage trim here that I'm just going to use. Put a bit of that hanging down, and I've got some of this coffee dyed cheesecloth that I'm going to use. And all I do with this is to give it that distress look is I pull it all apart. I kind of free the edges here. Just make it look a little more shabby chicish, if you will. Pull through, and then I usually pull in the middle a few times. It also tucks it in, makes it all shrink up a bit in there. So then I'm just going to pull some of these edges off just to make it a little smaller. Let's see how that is. And then I'm just going to fold it in half, put it under my button. So then that would be that. And what I did for these big ones here is, funny enough, I have some silk that I've been using in this last project, and I've got little pieces. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to basically cut this little piece in half. And because it's silk, if you go with it green, you can get it ripped pretty thin. And I've just got this big head needle here. Oh, it's fraying all over the place. And I thread it on my needle, and I'm using this frayed silk to it's all sticking to me, to stitch this down. So basically I'm just going to sew through the front and the back. If I can pull that through. Oh, I caught the lace in the back there a little bit. There. Leave my tail at the front. And then I just poke from the front to the back so that you can see where you got to go on here again. Sometimes it's hard to see it. Poke that back up. Okay. So now I'm just going to tie a single knot. No, actually for this one I think I'm going to tie a double knot, and I'm going to just trim my silk ends down there. And then I usually just give it a good fraying on the edge there so it's not such a clean cut. And there you have it. Just a label that's created a little bit differently, which I think adds some interest. I might eventually go with some of my little words when I'm actually putting these in a book, and put a little word or a dangle or something. But I thought these are nice, basic. And the ones I've created here are all kind of neutral. And I just thought it would be nice to have a pile of these, something a little different to add to my pages as I go. Anyways, that's my thought on that. Hopefully you like this. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Welcome to all my new subscribers. Thank you for joining me. And I am creating projects right now that I'm using things off my desk. So this was just kind of the inspiration I had for this. I'm trying to clean up my desk, but as you can tell from the last couple of videos, I seem to be making more than I'm actually cleaning, but that's okay. Hopefully I will see you guys again soon. Thanks for coming out. And as always, if you are interested in any of my finished projects, please check out my Etsy store, Heart's Desire by Venus, and you will find all my new listings on there. Thanks for coming out. Have a great day.